Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com and with that metalstation.com. And today I can get to have a chat with Aaron Pauley, bassist vocalist of Mice and Men, who recently released their Echo album Friday, the 3rd of December, 4th if you're in Australia. Aaron, I got to chat with you in February, man. So when this come up again, I was super excited to have another chat with you. How have you been, my friend?
I've been very well. How have you been keeping?
I'm good, man. It's been a busy year despite everything that's going on. And I can see likewise for you guys as well with this Echo album, man. It must be good to finally get them out, having that Timeless, the Bloom, and then the forthcoming EP. It must be good to have them all in a neat little package in Echo as well.
It is, and it's a unique experience to sort of be able to revisit a year's worth of work and life and creative expression in a concise package and sort of, dive back into a lot of the elements of the record. And I love music so much. I love talking about it. Thanks for having me on today, and thanks for covering the releases and whatnot throughout the year. It feels good, and it feels like it's really connecting and resonating with people. And for me, that's so much more valuable than accolades or people thinking it's cool or that it's successful. The fact that it can resonate with people and that people can um, connect with it in a very real way. It's a very reciprocating feeling for us, because it makes us feel like we are connected too.
Yeah, well, the melodies, the vocals, the instrumentals, the lyrics, everything is just kind of encapsulates a little bit of the feel of the last couple of years as well. And we briefly talked about the meaning of the songwriting and how it kind of was for you in the one in February. And that, can you elaborate a little bit more? What was it like doing all this, together?
Um, it was sort of our plank out in the ocean. It was songwriting for us is the thing that we cling to try and express ourselves, and not just express ourselves, but like to try and make sense of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sometimes you if for me personally, it's the most complete and coherent way of not just communicating how I'm feeling, but also trying to understand how I'm feeling or why, or a lot of just the most complicated parts of being a human being. I feel like I'm able to better express and understand through music than even, language necessarily. But music is the universal language, so there you go.
Yeah, and you've done most of this through Zoom. I think we were talking back in February.
Yep.
How was that experience for you, all being musicians and kind of sitting in your own personal spaces, making this music instead of getting together in the jam room and things like that?
Uh, a lot of the way that we work, even when we are together in one room, is we're usually huddled around somebody's computer, and everybody usually has one set up in different parts. Um, we're all pretty proficient with like recording software and tracking ourselves. Um, it really the hardest thing was Zoom randomly disconnecting at times, especially when an idea is just getting good, and then all of a sudden it says meetings ended, and it's like, oh, awesome. Um, but as far as the sort of the ethos and MO of like what we really wanted to do and what we set to accomplish every time we get together to work on music, we were able to do that over Zoom and over Dropbox, and then later on broadcasting to Twitch and connecting with our fans while we're making music. Um, it really was sort of an exercise in um, not just creativity, but our ability to collaborate with one another.
Yeah, and it would have been good going forward as well, being able to work like that as well, because you all have lives and family outside of this as well. So going forward, you can probably make music a little more like this. COVID has been a pain in the ass, and there's been so many negatives about it, but there's also
Yeah,
been a few positives for bands that they can take from this going forward.
100%. Um, I've said that it's sort of akin to having your ship and being on your ship with your shipmates for a long time. Um, and then you kind of get thrown into your life raft and you haven't really needed to utilize it, but it's nice to at least know that when y'all jumped in it that it didn't sink. So
Yeah.
in the event that we are sort of in a place where we have to do it this way again, we know that we can, and we know that we not only will create something that our fans can enjoy, but we can create something that's meaningful to us in a way that goes beyond needing to fill a deadline so that you have an album to tour, so that you can keep paying the bills, so you can keep making albums, so you can keep touring. Um, it was a very, very, very honest process, and it was very much like the four of us returning to the garage and just creating songs for the sake of creating songs, and not having a producer, and not having a full commercial facility studio. Um, and that was, you ask any musician, and most will tell you that that was some of the most fun they ever had, was before they ever had a career doing it, just being in the garage with their bandmates, creating stuff. You know, I feel like that's a reason why a lot of people connect with old records, and a lot of people connect with bands' early albums, is because bands, you start off literally just creating for the pure sake of just expressing yourself. I just need to express myself. I just need whatever I'm feeling, I need to get out. And the only way I know how to do that is by writing a song about it. And it's only later on, when you need those songs to do something, or you need a certain amount of people to like it, or you know, it becomes sort of a vehicle to get you from point A to point B, whereas it never was initially about that. And for us, this record was almost antithetical to that, because all we really needed this record to do was exist for us to make.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we really didn't there was no plans necessarily to tour it. There wasn't really expectations of, well, we need it to chart super well. um you know, releasing EPs, I don't even know necessarily how all that works or translates. It was literally, we just needed to create, and we needed
Yeah.
to create for the sake of being able to connect with other people who love music.
Yeah, well, I've loved the heck out of it, and the visualizers. I loved the artwork. We did talk about Derek and the artwork in the first interview we done. I
Oh, he's
loved,
phenomenal.
I loved the visualizers to it. It just sat so bloody well, and I went again last night and watched them all again, dude. They were
It's
so good, and they fit so well with the clips. And it must have been good for you guys to have that, the joint arts of the music and the visual side of it as well, coming together to make these clips.
Oh, 100%. It brought a whole new dimensionality to the thoughts and feelings and emotions that we were conveying in music. We now had a visual that could elicit that same sort of emotional response. And for me, like, that's literally what heavy music is. Heavy music is emotion. It's not it's not your thinking brain. It's your feeling, like your feeling being. You know what I mean? It's not. Um, and we live in a world that really sort of, and that pushes us to try and be more cognitive and cognizant of everything we're doing. Whereas heavy music is literally just an expression of emotion in some of its most raw and visceral form. The act of being in deep pain and screaming about it is a very primal thing, you know? And artwork can elicit that same feeling. And that paired with the music, you end up with something that's sort of greater than the sum of its parts, you know? And that's like, that's magic. That's as close to magic as you get on this planet, I think, you know?
It is, and for me, it's always been hand in hand, artwork and heavy music. Because
Always.
as a young lad hitting the record stores, I would buy CDs and albums sometimes just for the artwork, and then you'd sit there and flick through the pages and check all that artwork out. And
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
people just get on those streaming cycles and they forget about the other aspects that the band has as well.
Yeah, and you know, it was important for us to make sure that even though we had released this record largely um, to coexist with the way that music is consumed now, which is largely digital, it's largely kind of one song at a time, one thought at a time. We wanted to make sure that if anybody had heard it and was looking for more depth to it, that it exists and it's out there. Um, and it's not necessarily for um, promotional purposes. Because I used to do the same thing, man. I can't tell you how many records and even bands that I started listening to because the album artwork caught my eye and it made me feel something. And then I listened to the music and I was like, oh, it's more of that feeling. Um, and it doesn't necessarily exist for the same purpose anymore, but it does still have that ability to give you that gift of just even more depth to what drew you to it in the first place, you know?
Oh, definitely. I've got to talk about the cover you've done, "Helplessly Hoping." That was really, really cool. I busted it out on the show the other day. The Crosby, Stills and Nash cover, man. Tell me a little bit about that cover and why you kind of chose that and a little bit around it.
Yeah, that song was a song that I listened to a lot as a kid. I grew up, and my dad used to listen to a lot of singer-songwriter music, so a lot of Jim Croce and Simon and Garfunkel, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Cat Stevens, um, and that song was always like really important to me, even when I was young, not even really understanding what it's about, but just understanding how the harmony and how it can be such a that song is the epitome of the total being greater than the sum of its parts. It's just an acoustic guitar and three voices, but it's one of, in my opinion, it's one of the best songs ever written. And I'll die on that hill all day long. um, and that song, I went probably a decade or more of my life not even really hearing that song. And it really sort of found its way back to me around the passing of my mother-in-law and dealing with and processing those sorts of feelings. And I started hearing that song a lot of places, and I felt like as a musician, as somebody who the form of communicating through music means so much to me, and I feel like it's the most complete way that I know how to communicate with the world. I felt like I just wanted to honor that song and share it by just performing it to the best of my abilities and sharing it with other people who may have never even heard of Crosby, Stills and Nash or have ever heard that song. Um, and not in a way to be self-aggrandizing or like that, but literally because it meant so much to me that I just wanted to share it, and I wanted to share it in a way that I could also, you know, maybe put myself into it. That sounds a little selfish, or
No, 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 no. I understand what you're saying. It was an absolutely beautiful way to end the album. And for me, we were talking about the way people listen to music, but for me, I love to get back to albums and play whole albums because you kind of go on a journey with the band as well. And the way
oh,
that
100%.
ended totally just left me going, wow, I got to go back and play this album again. But it was a really beautiful way to end the album. And you can sense that in your vocal delivery as well, that it was a special track to you, dude.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's you know, it's kind of like when you watch one of your favorite shows on TV and there's a new episode every week and you love the experience, but then the whole series or the whole season drops and you're able to binge watch it back to back and you end up rediscovering a lot of things about it. And that was sort of another sort of that's another thing we really kind of wanted to do with it was, you know, to release a new song every 3, 4, 5 weeks since the beginning of the year, with the understanding that when you can finally listen to them all together, you're going to get things out of it that you didn't necessarily get one at a time. And it was true for us as the people that wrote it. There was a deeper understanding of what we were trying to convey and what we accomplished in it, going back and even being able to listen to a year's worth of life in music form, you know?
Yeah, and have it in that nice little package. And looking next year, things are hopefully still going to be going the way they're going. And yous are off to Europe, I think, in June next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, knock on wood. I'm
Yeah.
hoping everything comes back, and I'm hoping live music can be a place where everybody can come and be carefree and just sharing in that experience because there's nothing like it. There is nothing like live music,
Oh, yeah.
and just what it does to you. And I really can't wait for that to come back.
Yeah, and then not being able to play for the time that you have. I was sitting there last night with my partner, and I was watching some live clips, and I was showing her who you guys were. She's like, "I've heard of Mice Man, but I haven't heard a lot of them." I'm like, "I got you," and it must be good for you guys. But what's the one big thing you're really missing about getting back and playing live?
Um, just seeing people connect with it. You know, the music that we create is so honest, and it comes from us just wanting to share our human experience with other people to try and connect with people. Um, I'm somebody that struggles with feeling lonely and alone a lot of the time. And I think everybody does. And I think when you know how much of yourself and how much hard work and just to reduce it at its most, just how much of yourself you put into a song, and to see somebody singing it back to you because they see themselves in that and they find themselves in your song, just like I've found myself in hundreds of artist songs that I didn't write. Um, it's a very, very, it's almost like a spiritual thing that you share with people, and it's hard to put into words. But I know because
I know.
you know. And most people who are listening to this know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's having that connection and knowing you're not alone. And that's the one thing about, like, I'm a major introvert outside of the metal scene and what I do with all this website stuff and my job. I'm an introvert. I'm at home all the time. So when I go to these metal shows, I catch up with old friends I haven't seen since the last gig, and you have that connection. And then even the bands, you go up and you chat to them. Half time they're on the merch stand. You can go buy some merch, and there's a lot of things we have missed over the last couple of years with COVID, taking that out, where it's all been through these conversations through Zoom and that, which has kind of kept myself, and I know people like yourself, it's been the music and releasing music and having that connection with the fans, still being able to drop music that has gotten us through.
Oh, 100%. And yeah, how many times have you ever heard a song and you go, "Holy shit, he's singing about me. Holy shit, she's singing about me." And as somebody who writes songs, I'm singing about me, but I also know that somebody out there is having that same experience, because I have that experience all the time. Anytime I'm going through something, it's miraculous how there's a song. There's a song for everything. And it's such a blessing to just be part of that community and to just be part of the overall greater tapestry that's music, because people have been making music and expressing themselves that way for thousands of years, you know.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the art of vinyl's dropping, man. You're dropping the Ad Infinitum vinyl next year as well. So
Yep.
vinyl lovers like me are very happy about that, and I'm looking forward to getting a copy of that in my hands. It must be
Yeah,
good to be
I wish
dropping
there wasn't a
vinyl.
delay. I wish there wasn't such a production delay on it.
It's
But
all over
yeah,
the world. It's been that way,
it,
eh?
it will exist at some point in physical form. The artwork is gorgeous, and I can't wait to hold it in my hands. Derek is just one of the best artists in terms of capturing emotional content and turning it into art. And Frankie Nasso and his team that took Derek Hess's artwork and made videos out of it. It's a hell of a thing, and I'm so honored to have even just been a part of it. You know.
Yeah, and 2021 winding up. I've started throwing this one in there, man. Do you have any big highlights that have been like capped it off for you? Anything, man, that for the last year that has kind of made your year?
This and moments like speaking to you about music, about just the importance of human connection, and how so much about the world we live in just kind of seeks to throw that into chaos, you know. But we can we can be on completely different time zones, and your day can be starting when mine's ending, and we don't even need to speak the same language, and we can connect through music as human beings, and that's just such a beautiful thing.
Oh, that is, Aaron. That's an absolutely awesome way to end this, man. This has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you again. Hopefully, get to see you in Australia. Hopefully, sometime soon when
Yeah,
everything keeps
absolute
going the
pleasure.
way it is. Did you have?
Absolute pleasure. We cannot wait to come back.
Awesome. Did you have any last words or shout outs or thank yous you want to add in there, my friend?
Um, yeah, I just want to thank anybody that has listened to our music, even if it's just a song or a fraction of a song. You know, thanks for allowing the songs and the music that we've poured our hearts into your lives. That's not lost on me. It's not lost on me for a second that it's people have to take the time to listen to it to allow it to move them or not. And I'm just grateful for the time that anybody would give to us, yourself included. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Aaron, this has been an absolute pleasure. You, my friend, have a safe and happy holidays. You enjoy it with your family. Everybody
Likewise.
else, go out and grab Echo, put it in the stereo for the neighbors. They're going to want to hear this as well. Cheers, mate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You have a great day, okay?
Awesome. Thank you very much, mate. I'll see you later.